Sneak Preppers and reporting once again to you y'all. I mean, like I say, every day it's something else. I know, like, I go to these grocery stores, y'all, like on a weekly basis, mostly to report, because I've cut down a lot with the food as far as consuming it and buying it. I told y'all before, time and time, I'm living off old preps right now when it comes to food. I will go to the markets to get like fresh produce. Um, and I limit that as well, because all that stuff they spray on it. But I make sure I wash it thoroughly, before I partake of it. But they've recently come out with an article of how food is going up to like 50-60%. It's like everything 50%. But so we already knew these things, but by the time 2022 come around, y'all, it's going to be worse. So not only you having people, they don't want to get caught off guard. You already have us as preppers. We stay stocking up on stuff. Then you have like the newly awakened, which I'm really glad about. I don't call it hoarding. Not when it comes to food. You know what I'm saying? I don't feel like you can have enough. But you have the people who have newly been awakened, and they don't want to get caught off guard. Like one of my viewers said before, they they made a promise to themselves, like last year when that pandemic first occurred. They went to the shelves, there was nothing on the shelves. So you have people who seeing what's going on, they don't want to get caught off guard like that again. So they also go into the store, supply, stocking up on a whole lot of what they need. Then we have the food shortages, of course. Then we have all these weather-related events that have occurred in the last year and a half since the beginning of this pandemic. I can't say how I feel about that, but y'all who've been following me, y'all already know how I feel about that weather. Follow me on Patreon for all those videos. We have the weather that occurred that also affected the crops. Then we had, in the midst of the pandemic, farmers allegedly coming out saying how they were paid to destroy their crops and this and that and other. It's just a lot of speculation. It's just a lot allegations, and it's just a lot going on when it comes to this food. And that's why I can't iterate enough to start growing your gardens. But anyway, they have this article, and I wanted to share with you. And they said the reasons why the prices of food keep going up. Then we're going to talk about the solutions, of course. Before the pandemic, most people may not have thought much about where their food came from, how far it traveled, or how it was produced. Certain industry phrases have underscored rising grocery bills over the past 18 months. Turbulence and turbulence and volatility. Unprecedented times. But one of the biggies is supply chain disruption. Food producers have struggled with shortages, bottlenecks in transportation, weather, and labor woes, all of which have caused food prices to rise. The end is not in sight. Inflation at the wholesale level climbed 8.3% last month from August 2020. The Labor Department reported Friday the biggest annual gain since the department started calculating the number in 2010. Those prices are passed on to consumers. Didn't we just read an article when they said the prices are passed on to the consumers? They pass all the problems and the prices on to the consumers, even though we had nothing to do with any of these disruptions. We had nothing to do with the pandemic, and the people allegedly who have something to do with it, they not having to pay nothing. If anything, they making billions and billions of dollars. They making a lot of money, allegedly. But I better not get into that before I get myself in trouble. Y'all want to know how I feel? Y'all go over there to Patreon. Those prices are passed on to consumers. Meat, poultry, fish, and eggs are up 5.9% over last year. They are way more than that. And up 15.7% from prices in August 2019 before the pandemic. The Bureau of Labor Statistics on Tuesday reported an additional overall food price increase of 0.4% in August compared with July, after larger increases in recent months. Cisco, one of the nation's biggest food distributors, showed food inflation of 10.2% on its most recent quarterly report, increases that are passed along to restaurants and to the restaurants' customers in turn. History shows us that price adjustments are more likely to be accepted in the market when industry-wide and broad-based input cost inflation occurs. David Marburger, Chief Financial Officer of Conagra Brands, one of the world's largest food companies, said in the company's third quarter 2021 earnings call, and that's the environment we see today. Translation: they are paying higher prices, they are charging higher prices are everywhere. 18 months into the pandemic, why are there still supply chain problems? That's the question they're asking. From Gatorade to Lunchables, bananas to anchovies, things still can't easily get to where they need to be. Across the board, ingredient suppliers see longer lead times because of lack of staffing, ingredient shortages, and the unpredictability of trucking and container ship transport. In many cases, those lead times have dragged out to 8 to 12 weeks, with food manufacturers stalled out waiting for ingredients for their products, according to Rifle Hughes, innovation and strategy business partner at JPG Resources, which develops food for major companies. He says that products in the center aisles of the grocery store, canned goods, snacks, cereals, tend to require many ingredients, often sourced from around the world. And that is ridiculous too. So this also teaching us like how our food is just not only is it not local, but it's also not here in the United States. So the United States of America have all these enemies, so y'all dependent on these people outside the country to feed the U.S. American citizens. Y'all don't see a problem with all of this? And like I said before, it's kind of like too also, even though it hurt, it's hurting us because we're not used to this, but it's also a blessing in disguise so we can see how this system don't give a doggone about us, allegedly. And how we shouldn't even be dependent on anybody to take care of us, but ourselves. That's just like not working and you have to go keep asking for handouts and then asking and expecting somebody to do for you when you know there's no chances of that happening because people have to do for themselves, and then you just stuck out. That's sort of like what that is. You keep on having to depend on people. You know, your luck is soon run out with that. You have to depend on yourself. I have to depend on myself. We have to depend on ourselves. And this further lets us know, so we'll be fools, even if the system get back in shape and get back together, whatever, we'll still, y'all, it still wouldn't be wise for us to depend on this system no more. As much as we've seen it been broken in the last almost 2 years and all this stuff we had to go through, and like they say, the prices are passed on to the consumer. So if we don't want these prices to continue to be passed on to us, we'll become self-reliant and self-sufficient. So where was I? He says that products in the center of the aisles of the grocery store, canned goods, snacks, cereals, tend to require many ingredients, often sourced from around the world, and that this year's extreme weather, labor problems, and shortages are leading to deeper and longer running disruptions than even last year. The bacon industry, which tracks prices of core inputs including sweeteners and cocoa, reports price hikes in 49 of the top 50 ingredients, says Rob McKee, Chief Executive of the American Bakers Association. The group expects prices of baked goods to rise another 5 to 10% in all categories between now and the end of the year. For example, sweetener costs have increased across the board, with the recent hurricane shutting down sugarcane refineries in Louisiana and drought shriveling the sugar beet yields in the upper Midwest. And even corn and other sweetener prices are seen rising by double digits, McKay says. The global supply chain has been twisted in so many knots. So things you might have put on a truck or train, you might not have to pay air for, which is way more expensive. The closures and reopenings of different industries, coupled with the surges and lags in consumer purchasing during the pandemic, have caused an accordion effect, says Shelby Swain Myers, an economist for American Farm Bureau Federation, with lots of industries playing catch up even as they see higher consumer demand, as many Americans now have more money to spend, Myers says. I don't know where that is. And lower supplies of items such as grains to feed livestock in other countries have led to increased U.S. exports, which has further driven up domestic prices, according to Myers. All right, we get the picture. Y'all get the picture. Y'all know what's going on by now. So, of course, we have a lot of solutions for that. Y'all already know what my solution is. Start those gardens. Limit your food intake. Limit your food intake. Start your gardens. Spend less. Spend less. I have a lot of beans and rice. I know that it's a lot of water consumption that goes with that, but I'm okay with that. Beans and rice fill me up just fine. And I used to live off of it as a child. That's basically the only type of food that my grandparents fed us all. It's still affordable. It's not as cheap as it was last year, year before then, but it's still affordable. A lot of this stuff, y'all, in the stores, it was no good anyway. Allegedly, I'm going to say that. So, it's just the whirlwind of things hitting us all at one time. So y'all continue to prep, continue to stay prayerful, continue to just get your houses in order, y'all, because all this stuff is going to hit all at one time. It's slowly doing that now, and you don't want to find yourself on that other end of not having what you need and not being prepared for it, mentally, physically, financially, in every area, in every aspect of your life. It's getting worse and worse and worse out here, y'all. And I think, it's good if you have family members and you guys can depend on one another and you can put your monies together. You guys can have meetings of what you need to be doing, meetings of some things and ways you can cut back on some things, and, have some savings just prepared for a lot of these different things, because all at one time, when you're most vulnerable, that's when they attack. I have to say allegedly. I'm a living witness to it. We were vulnerable out here in February during that Texas winter storm. It was freezing cold. Nobody in Texas is used to that kind of weather in February. It does not get cold like that in the month of February. And boom, before you know it, it got cold out here and the grid went out on us. And the water went out on us. Don't let them catch you off guard, because it's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when. Watch this world. Watch the weather. Smell your water. Keep surviving. SandHerald.com.